fact that many people never hear during routine eye exams is that after the age of 60, the eyes gradually lose a vital protective pigment. This process happens layer by layer and often goes unnoticed. There is no pain. There is no obvious warning. The decline is slow and silent until it begins affecting daily life. Words on a restaurant menu become harder to read. Headlights at night appear to burst across the field of vision. Recognizing the face of a grandchild across the dinner table may suddenly become difficult. What makes the situation even more concerning is that many individuals regularly consume foods they believe are helping their eyesight, while those foods provide only limited support. A closer look at nutrition reveals a much more specific picture. Research has explored why some people maintain remarkably clear vision into their 80s, while others experience severe vision loss before reaching 70. Genetics plays a role, but nutrition appears to be a major factor. Among foods that may help preserve eye function after 60, raw pumpkin seeds occupy an important place. This simple food is inexpensive and widely available, yet few foods offer comparable support for maintaining the structure of aging eyes. The reason relates to zinc. As people grow older, the lens of the eye gradually becomes less capable of remaining transparent. One contributing factor is the ongoing reduction of zinc levels. Zinc serves as a transport partner for vitamin A. It helps move vitamin A through the bloodstream and into the retina, where it is transformed into melanin, a protective pigment. Without sufficient zinc, even a diet rich in vitamin A may not deliver the expected benefits because the retina struggles to utilize those nutrients effectively. The transport mechanism becomes less efficient. A landmark investigation published in the Archives of Ophthalmology reported that older adults with the greatest zinc intake experienced a 27% lower likelihood of developing advanced macular degeneration during a 5-year observation period. That reduction represents a significant decrease in the risk of serious vision impairment. Pumpkin seeds are among the most concentrated whole food sources of zinc available. A serving of 1 ounce, roughly a small handful, supplies nearly 20% of the recommended daily zinc intake in a highly absorbable form. They also provide gamma-tocopherol, a form of vitamin E that helps shield delicate retinal fats from oxidative damage linked to ultraviolet light exposure. For practical use, raw, unsalted, hulled pumpkin seeds are preferred over roasted varieties. Heat exposure during roasting can reduce zinc content by as much as 30% through oxidation. A daily portion of approximately 1 ounce, equal to about 2 tablespoons, is often suggested during the early evening. Zinc levels then rise during sleep, a period when the eyes perform much of their cellular restoration. Combining pumpkin seeds with a small piece of cheese or 1 tablespoon of tahini may further support absorption because the accompanying fats enhance uptake of gamma-tocopherol. One 67-year-old retired teacher named Harold had experienced steadily increasing dependence on stronger reading glasses for nearly 4 years. Early lens clouding had already been documented by his optometrist. After adding 1 handful of raw pumpkin seeds to his evening routine for 3 months, a follow-up examination revealed measurable reductions in oxidative markers within lens tissue. The change surprised his optometrist. Another food that often catches people off guard is the tart cherry. At first glance, cherries are rarely associated with eye health. However, they connect 2 important factors: sleep quality and the speed of visual decline. During deep slow-wave sleep, the body releases melatonin. While commonly recognized as a sleep-related hormone, melatonin is also a powerful antioxidant. The retina contains specialized receptors that respond to it. Eye tissues depend on melatonin to neutralize free radical damage accumulated throughout the day from light exposure. When sleep becomes shorter or less restorative, a common issue after 60, the melatonin surge is diminished. As a result, retinal repair processes remain incomplete. Over months and years, this can contribute to measurable deterioration in vision. Tart cherries stand out because they contain exceptionally high levels of naturally occurring plant-derived melatonin. Research from Louisiana State University found that adults who consumed tart cherry juice for 2 weeks increased total sleep duration by an average of 84 minutes, while also spending more time in deep, slow-wave sleep. Longer periods of deep sleep create a larger melatonin window, allowing retinal repair mechanisms to function more effectively. The benefits do not stop there. Tart cherries are rich in anthocyanins, particularly cyanidin-3 glucoside. Clinical studies have associated this compound with reduced intraocular pressure, improved circulation within the eye, and protection of the optic nerve against inflammatory injury. A Japanese study published in the Journal of Functional Foods followed 60 adults with mild glaucoma for 12 weeks. Participants who consumed tart cherry extract daily experienced statistically significant reductions in intraocular pressure, a major contributor to optic nerve damage in glaucoma. A practical approach involves drinking 4 ounces of 100% tart cherry juice, mixed with 4 ounces of water, approximately 60 to 90 minutes before bedtime. Unsweetened juice is preferred. For those who favor whole fruit, 1/2 cup of frozen tart cherries may provide similar benefits. Added sugar is discouraged. The natural tart flavor reflects the presence of compounds believed to contribute to these effects. Consistent use for at least 4 weeks is generally recommended before evaluating results. Another food deserving attention is the avocado. Its value lies in helping the body absorb key eye protective nutrients. Lutein and zeaxanthin, 2 compounds strongly associated with retinal protection, are fat-soluble. Without adequate dietary fat, the body absorbs only a small portion of them. One investigation demonstrated that consuming a salad rich in lutein-containing vegetables without added fat resulted in almost no absorption of these carotenoids. Avocado addresses this challenge in 2 ways. First, a medium avocado supplies approximately 1.3 milligrams of lutein, placing it among the richest fruits for this nutrient. Second, its abundance of healthy fats, especially oleic acid, significantly improves absorption of lutein and zeaxanthin from other foods consumed in the same meal. A clinical study conducted at Ohio State University found that adding avocado to a meal increased lutein absorption from accompanying foods by 400%. Zeaxanthin absorption increased by more than 1,200%. In practical terms, adding half an avocado to a meal containing leafy greens or orange vegetables can dramatically increase the availability of these eye-supportive compounds. Avocados also provide substantial amounts of vitamin E, particularly alpha-tocopherol. This nutrient helps defend the lens against oxidative stress caused by ultraviolet exposure, one of the contributors to cataract development. Individuals with the highest blood levels of vitamin E have been shown to experience a 25% lower risk of cataracts over a 10-year period. A common recommendation is to include 1/2 avocado with dinner at least 4 evenings each week. One of the easiest ways to include avocado is to place sliced pieces on whole grain toast, then add a touch of sea salt and red pepper flakes. Another option is to mash it and serve it beside the protein already on your plate. Pairing avocado with dark leafy vegetables, naturally sweet vegetables, or eggs creates an important effect. Because these nutrients are fat-soluble, the digestive process allows the beneficial compounds to be absorbed far more efficiently, quietly increasing the value of the entire meal. Next comes dark leafy greens, though the variety you choose makes a substantial difference. Many people wonder why their eyesight continues to worsen even though they regularly eat salads and vegetables. The explanation is straightforward. Success depends not only on eating greens, but on selecting the proper varieties, preparing them correctly, and consuming them consistently. The 2 compounds that matter most are lutein and zeaxanthin. Their concentration varies dramatically from one leafy vegetable to another. Iceberg lettuce contains almost none. Romaine lettuce provides only modest levels. Cooked kale supplies roughly 23 milligrams of lutein per cup. Cooked spinach contains about 20 milligrams. Cooked collard greens, often overlooked, provide an impressive 26 milligrams in a single cooked cup. That places them among the richest sources available. These nutrients become especially important after 60 because they are the only dietary carotenoids that selectively accumulate within the macula. This tiny 5-millimeter region sits at the center of the retina and governs detailed vision needed for reading, driving, identifying faces, and watching grandchildren perform at school events. Together, lutein and zeaxanthin create what scientists call macular pigment. This protective layer functions like a biological filter. It absorbs blue light before damage reaches photoreceptor cells and helps neutralize free radicals generated each day from ultraviolet exposure and digital screens. The landmark AREDS 2 trial, recognized as one of the largest and most rigorous investigations ever conducted in eye health, established a clear connection between higher macular pigment optical density and a substantially reduced likelihood of age-related macular degeneration progressing into advanced stages that threaten vision. Preparation is critical. For individuals focused primarily on eye protection, lightly cooked greens are preferred over raw versions. Heat breaks apart the cellular structure surrounding lutein and zeaxanthin, making these compounds more accessible for absorption. Research published in the British Journal of Nutrition reported that lutein from cooked spinach was available to the body at levels up to 4 times greater than from uncooked spinach. A practical serving consists of 1 to 2 cups of kale, spinach, or collard greens, sautéed in 1 teaspoon of extra virgin olive oil, with 1 minced garlic clove for 4 to 5 minutes over medium heat. A finishing touch of lemon juice and sea salt completes the preparation. Consuming this dish with dinner at least 5 evenings each week provides ongoing support. Lutein does not build up overnight. It accumulates gradually over weeks and months, creating layer upon layer of protection within the macula. Moving higher on the list brings us to walnuts. Among nutritional tools that support retinal blood vessel health over the long term, walnuts remain one of the least appreciated. For older adults, this topic carries particular importance. The retina depends on an intricate network of microscopic blood vessels. These vessels rank among the smallest and most fragile anywhere in the body. As aging progresses, chronic low-level inflammation, oxidative stress, and elevated blood sugar contribute to gradual narrowing and stiffening of these tiny channels. Once circulation to the retina declines, photoreceptor cells receive less oxygen and fewer nutrients. This condition, known as retinal ischemia, is considered one of the primary factors behind both macular degeneration and diabetic eye disease. Walnuts help interrupt this process through several mechanisms. They are among the few plant foods containing meaningful amounts of alpha-linolenic acid, commonly called ALA, a plant-derived omega-3 fatty acid. Although ALA does not provide the same direct availability as DHA found in fatty fish, it still plays an important role in lowering inflammatory markers that can damage retinal vessel walls. A study published in Nutrients observed older adults who ate a small handful of walnuts daily for 8 weeks. Researchers documented measurable declines in 2 inflammatory markers, CRP and IL-6, both independently linked to faster progression of retinal vascular disease. Walnuts offer another advantage. They contain ellagic acid, a compound shown in research to help protect retinal ganglion cells. These nerve cells carry visual information from the eye to the brain. Studies suggest ellagic acid may help shield these cells from apoptosis, supporting the survival of essential neural connections. A recommended serving is approximately 1 ounce, equal to about 7 whole walnuts, consumed during the evening after dinner. Proper storage matters. Keeping walnuts refrigerated in an airtight container helps preserve their delicate polyunsaturated oils. Once those oils become rancid, effectiveness declines and oxidative compounds may develop that oppose the intended benefits. Purchasing smaller quantities and replacing supplies every 2 to 3 weeks helps maintain freshness. The next food combines ancient culinary tradition with emerging scientific interest: turmeric paired with black pepper. Recent research has highlighted its relevance to eye health, particularly for older adults. One damaging process associated with aging vision is retinal neuroinflammation. As photoreceptor cells accumulate oxidative injury over time, they begin releasing inflammatory signals. These signals activate retinal immune cells known as microglia. Under healthy conditions, microglia remove debris and support tissue maintenance. However, chronic low-grade neuroinflammation, increasingly common after 60, can push these cells into an overactive state. When this occurs, healthy retinal tissue may be damaged alongside unhealthy tissue. This phenomenon, called microglial overactivation, is now recognized as a major contributor to both age-related macular degeneration and glaucomatous optic nerve deterioration. Curcumin, the principal active compound found in turmeric, is notable because it can cross the blood-retinal barrier. This protective barrier separates circulating blood from delicate retinal structures. Once inside retinal tissue, curcumin can directly influence inflammatory processes. A clinical study reported in the British Journal of Ophthalmology followed individuals with early-stage macular degeneration. Participants receiving curcumin supplementation for 12 months demonstrated significantly better preservation of visual function than those receiving placebo treatment. Improvements were observed in mean sensitivity across the central visual field. There is, however, an important limitation. Curcumin alone is poorly absorbed. Typically, less than 3% enters circulation after consumption. Black pepper changes that equation. It contains piperine, a compound that temporarily inhibits an intestinal enzyme responsible for breaking down curcumin before absorption occurs. Adding 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper to turmeric can increase curcumin bioavailability by as much as 2,000%. One common preparation begins with 1 cup of whole milk or unsweetened oat milk, gently warmed over low heat. Add 1 teaspoon of high-quality turmeric powder, 1/4 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper, a small amount of cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of raw honey. This beverage, often referred to as golden milk, combines curcumin with dietary fat and piperine, creating conditions that support maximum absorption. Consumed about 45 minutes before bedtime, it aligns with the body's natural overnight repair processes. Much of the anti-inflammatory activity affecting retinal microglia occurs during sleep, when restorative mechanisms are most active. Approaching the top of the list brings us to wild blueberries. The distinction between wild and cultivated blueberries is significant. Wild blueberries, typically the smaller, darker berries commonly sold frozen from Maine or Canada, contain approximately 2 to 3 times more anthocyanins per gram than larger cultivated varieties. The explanation is straightforward. Wild blueberry plants grow under challenging conditions. They develop in nutrient-poor soil while enduring dramatic temperature fluctuations and substantial ultraviolet exposure. To survive those harsh growing conditions, wild blueberries generate exceptionally high amounts of anthocyanin pigments as a natural protective response. When consumed, those same compounds become available to the body. Their connection to eye health extends well beyond basic antioxidant effects. Researchers at the University of Montreal demonstrated that anthocyanins found in wild blueberries can attach to and support a vital protein known as rhodopsin. This light-sensitive pigment is located in rod cells and allows vision under low-light conditions. With advancing age, rhodopsin requires more time to regenerate after exposure to bright light. This explains why many older adults struggle when moving from brightly lit locations into darker environments. The period of reduced visibility that occurs after entering a dim restaurant or leaving a brightly illuminated store becomes longer and more noticeable. Research has shown that anthocyanins from wild blueberries can increase rhodopsin regeneration by as much as 58%. Another important finding emerged from a Japanese study published in the journal Nutrients. Adults older than 60 received a standardized wild blueberry extract for 8 weeks. At the conclusion of the trial, researchers recorded measurable improvements in retinal blood vessel flexibility. The tiny capillaries supplying the retina became more capable of expanding and contracting in response to changing oxygen requirements. This effect was not merely protective, it demonstrated genuine restorative potential. Frozen wild blueberries are an effective choice because they preserve nearly all anthocyanin content. A practical serving is 1/2 cup thawed in the refrigerator during the day and consumed in the evening approximately 60 to 90 minutes before bedtime. Combining the berries with 1 tablespoon of full-fat plain Greek yogurt may provide additional benefits. The probiotics support conversion of anthocyanin precursors within the digestive tract, while the fat content assists movement through the intestinal wall. Cooking should be avoided. Anthocyanins are highly sensitive to heat. Even a 5-minute simmer can reduce potency by 40 to 70%. Among all the foods discussed, wild blueberries have generated some of the most memorable patient experiences. One example involved a 74-year-old woman named Eleanor. She had struggled for years with delayed adjustment to darkness. After introducing 1/2 cup of wild blueberries into her evening routine each day, she reported a noticeable change after 6 weeks. For the first time in more than 3 years, she found that she could clearly recognize the faces of people seated in a restaurant shortly after walking in from outside. The change seemed modest, yet its impact on daily life was substantial. At the top of the list stands raw cacao. This was the food that produced one of the most surprising findings in the research. The focus here is specifically on raw cacao, not chocolate bars and not conventional hot cocoa powder. It must be the minimally processed form of the cacao bean that retains its full collection of biologically active compounds. Its importance for aging eyes begins with the optic nerve. This structure contains approximately 1.2 million nerve fibers and serves as the communication pathway carrying visual information from the eye to the brain. Healthy circulation is essential for its survival. As the years pass, the small blood vessels supplying the optic nerve gradually lose flexibility. Blood flow declines. When circulation remains chronically inadequate, nerve fibers begin to deteriorate. This condition, known as glaucomatous optic neuropathy, represents the second leading cause of irreversible blindness worldwide. Raw cacao contains the highest concentration of flavonols, particularly epicatechin and catechin, of any known food source. These flavonols stimulate production of nitric oxide within blood vessel walls. Nitric oxide functions as the body's primary vasodilator. It signals smooth muscle cells surrounding blood vessels to relax, allowing the vessels to widen and improving circulation. Within the retina and optic nerve, this translates into enhanced oxygen delivery, improved nutrient transport, and reduced intraocular pressure through more effective fluid drainage. A clinical investigation published in JAMA Ophthalmology provided participants with a single serving of high flavanol dark chocolate. 2 hours later, visual acuity was assessed through contrast sensitivity testing. The results showed statistically significant improvement in contrast sensitivity when compared with participants who consumed low flavanol white chocolate. Researchers attributed the difference to enhanced microvascular perfusion within retinal tissue. Another study conducted by Harvard Medical School followed more than 100,000 participants across 10 years. Individuals with the highest intake of cocoa flavanols demonstrated a significantly lower risk of cardiovascular events. They also showed superior preservation of small vessel function throughout the body, including within the eyes. Preparation is extremely important. The product must be raw cacao powder rather than Dutch processed cocoa. The Dutch processing method uses alkalization, a treatment capable of destroying up to 90% of flavanol content in order to reduce bitterness. The stronger taste of raw cacao is actually evidence that these compounds remain intact. Certified organic raw cacao powder from minimally processed sources is preferred. A simple evening preparation involves stirring 1 teaspoon of raw cacao powder into a warm mug of unsweetened almond milk or oat milk. Add a small amount of cayenne pepper. Capsaicin from cayenne supports additional blood vessel dilation and strengthens the nitric oxide response initiated by cacao flavanols. For flavor, 1/2 teaspoon of raw honey may be added if desired. Consume the drink approximately 30 to 45 minutes before sleep. Nitric oxide production generally reaches peak levels around 90 minutes after consumption and remains elevated for several hours. During this period, circulation to the optic nerve and retinal microvasculature continues to receive support throughout the early stages of overnight sleep. Repeated consistently, these biological effects accumulate over time. Improvements may eventually become visible through visual field testing, intraocular pressure measurements, and day-to-day visual performance. One notable example involved a 78-year-old retired engineer named George. He sought help after experiencing progressive glaucomatous damage in his left eye, along with measurable decline in peripheral vision. A comprehensive nutritional approach was implemented, and raw cacao became the central component of his evening routine. After 18 months, his ophthalmologist documented that progression of visual field loss had slowed substantially. Existing optic nerve damage did not reverse, but the rate of deterioration decreased markedly. George described the experience as though the edge of a cliff he had been approaching suddenly seemed farther away. Taken together, these foods form a sequence of nutritional strategies supported by research. Raw pumpkin seeds contribute zinc needed for retinal vitamin A transport. Tart cherries support deeper sleep, stronger melatonin release, and overnight retinal restoration. Avocado enhances absorption of other eye-supportive nutrients through its healthy fat content. Cooked dark leafy greens provide the lutein and zeaxanthin foundation required for macular protection. Walnuts help maintain retinal blood vessel health and support ganglion cell survival. Turmeric combined with black pepper helps reduce neuroinflammation and can cross the blood-retinal barrier. Wild blueberries assist rhodopsin regeneration while supporting retinal microvascular function. Raw cacao promotes blood flow to the optic nerve through powerful flavanol activity. None of these foods should be viewed as a cure. They do not replace routine eye examinations, nor do they substitute for professional medical care. However, research consistently suggests that dietary habits, especially those practiced during the evening when the eyes prepare for intensive overnight repair, can influence visual health in meaningful ways over time. Protecting eyesight is not determined by a single choice. It is the result of repeated decisions made day after day, meal after meal, year after year. If this information provided value, take a moment to share it with others who may benefit. A simple conversation about nutrition could help someone better understand the connection between food choices and long-term vision health. Please leave your thoughts about this content in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.